Hey, this is Wolf from Armoury-Terrain, and if you're at all like me, you're a slave to your phone, and they get bigger and bigger. Of course, I've got a picture of my puppy dog Yuki as my background. Yep, there you are, Yuki Pop Dog. Anyway, a couple of years back, my parents had this phone stand made for me. It's even engraved with Wolf's phone, if you can see that. Problem is, though, that I need to plug my phone in mostly because I use it as a mobile hotspot, so it goes flat fairly quickly. And if I put it together this way, there's just not enough room for the cable to stick up for the phone to plug in. And if I do it the other way, so this is on top of the notches, it falls over. Which, when you've got a $1,000 phone sitting on it, you really don't want to have happen too often. So tonight I'm going to cut a base to anchor it down to, and then theme the base Goblincore because I'm still in a mushroom mode. So I've got this bit of craft wood that I've picked up from somewhere. I think somebody used it to make clay sculptures on, and this is going to be my base. It's a bit bigger than what I need, however. So my plan is to just cut the back of it square on the bandsaw. So I've got a nice round front and then a square back. Be adding some artificial grass and mushrooms. And then, so it doesn't scratch the table that's going to sit on, I'm going to put some felt feet on it. So let's get busy. Okay, now that I've cut this piece off the back of the circle, I'm left with this. Now I've painted the edge and just the front, top and bottom of it in burnt sienna. Burnt sienna? How about burnt umber? Just an acrylic paint. And I find that you've got to paint the top surface because sometimes the grass will lift up just a little bit and you really don't want to see that pale timber. The polished table that it's sitting on is about this colour, so this will help blend it in. The next step is to grab your roll of turf. Everyone's got rolls of turf, right? No? Okay. Anyway, you grab your roll of turf and on the rubberized side, you put down the piece and using a metallic Sharpie, draw it out and then cut it. You can either cut it with a knife. I prefer a pair of these because it just cuts it so much more easily. And now that I've got it cut out, I'm just going to hot glue it down to the base using my trusty Ryobi cordless glue gun. Not sponsored by Ryobi, but I could be. Ryobi, I work really cheap. You know, for some of your cordless tools, I'd love some sponsorship. So a nice generous amount of hot glue. And place this down and press it in place. Now when you press it down, remember that the back of this has holes in it so it can drain when it gets rained on. So if you press it down too hard, the hot glue will come through and burn your fingers. You don't want to do that. So anyway, I've glued this on upside down. That's regrettable. I'm going to peel that off because hot glue is only a temporary bond anyway. Then going to peel off all the hot glue before it fully cools while it's still in a gel-like form, or perhaps even later with a knife, and try again on the other side. Because it's not symmetrical, this only glues on one way. So how about I glue it on the correct way? That'd be a much better idea. Now you saw how easy that was to peel off. Once the glue cools properly, it has a much better bond. So you don't have to worry about that. So let's stick this back on the correct side. Yep, it's lined up at the back properly this time, which is good. Doing stuff when I'm tired, you know how it goes. But I needed a video because I haven't put one out in a while. And while that's cooling, I'm going to go grab a new glue stick and then peel all of this off the bottom before I go on to the next step. I'll be right back. Okay, you can see I've got all the glue off the bottom. Now before I glue anything else on the top, I thought it might be a good idea to stop and put some of these self-adhesive felt pads down. Now I'm putting these down for two reasons. Firstly, this piece of timber is many years old. It's been used for various things, and I can't guarantee that it's flat. So if I don't put some feet on the bottom, it may rock, which would completely ruin the whole stable phone holding thing. Now the other reason to put feet on it is this is going onto a polished side table, and the felt feet mean that I shouldn't scratch anything, which is also a good thing to consider. So that's all it takes to stick them on. They're self-adhesive. And yeah, back to the project. Okay, so we have the phone piece. I've decided I'm going to put a little bit of glue on each of these notches here, just to make sure it stays where I want it while I'm gluing it down. So let's see if I can do this without making a huge mess. I mean, I'm going to make some mess, but a huge mess. Okay, so I want it to sit like that. So I'll just hold it until that glue sets, or cools, or whatever you want to say about it. Okay, now that it's holding, I'm going to be nice and liberal with the hot glue I'm applying here. I mean, if it was a bit warmer, I could use liquid nails, but in this temperature, remembering that it's the middle of winter here, the liquid nails won't set at this time of night, being that it's just going on to 9:30 p.m. because I only work at weird hours when it's nice and quiet. Alright, so let's stick that into the turf and see how well it sticks once it cools down. So waiting. Okay, I'm going to put the phone on it sideways just to hold it in place while it cools. Now while I'm waiting for that to cool, I'm going to grab my drawer of loose leaves. Ooh, it's got mildew on it. Everything out here's got mildew. Because everyone has a box just of loose plants, don't they? No? Just me, right. Also, I have some mushrooms in here. Some clay ones that I've made over the years, and also some ceramic ones. I'm liking the look of these little ceramic ones. How many do I have? Got 3. Right. I've got 3 of them. So these I think will go in front of the phone stand, and then around and beside the phone stand might put some of this sort of foliage. Don't think I'll go with the ferns because they might be a bit tall, unless I put it behind it and glue it on. That could look kind of cool. Nah, it makes it all too tall then. It's unfortunate. Okay, so all sorts of goodies in here. Let's see how the phone is sitting. Okay, that is nice and stable. Huzzah! Now, because it's hot glue, you'll have strings. Don't forget to pull off the strings. Right, I've got 3 mushrooms only, which is a shame because I thought I had some more of these. But anyway, so let's glue some mushrooms on. I think all 3 of them will go on the same side. one at the front just there. Can you see that? Let's zoom in a little bit. That's better. So all I'm doing is sticking a nice big blob of hot glue on the base of the mushroom and then pushing it into the artificial grass. So 2. And 3. Once again, pulling off all the strings of hot glue as it's drying. So they're anchored fairly well. That one will be once it's cooled. So that gives me a nice bright little bit of colour there. I do have all these other mushrooms that I could put in, but then I'd have to paint them. And I don't know if I'm up to painting mushrooms tonight. Also, I've only got about 2 stems in there for all of these caps, so I might pass on those. Let's have a look and see what's in this plant box. Now, most of these plants have been bought on squares like this from the cheap shops, and they're great for decorating these sorts of things. So you work out which bits you want, then it's just a matter of pulling it off the sprue and gluing it where you want it. I tend to glue 2 of these together so you don't see the bit inside as much. So let's glue this in. Once again, nice amount of hot glue. And this time I'm going to use a pencil to press it into place so I don't burn myself. If I do it right, I won't get the pencil stuck. So that's one piece. And some glue on the inside of the thing. Yep. And a second one to glue inside of it. I find 2 pieces together like that just gives you a nice amount of foliage for a weed coming up out of the grass. So I'm going to do that once or twice more, and some of the flowers as well, I think, at the back. And then we'll have a look at the finished product. Well, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I mean, my phone will sit on there without any problems, and the charge cable will fit underneath. And the mushrooms look pretty good on it. Let's zoom in on them. And I even found an old fridge magnet here. One of the joys of having a workshop in one place for 10 years is you tend to just get bits that you hang on to. And yeah, this was a fridge magnet, and now it's attached to there. It just gives a little bit more colour. So this is Wolf from Armoury-Terrain saying you can take a boring, impractical phone stand that just didn't work, and with only a little bit of effort and a workshop full of cool stuff, you can turn it into something that looks like this. And this will now go on the nightstand next to my bed and make my room just a little bit more goblin-y. Okay, this is Wolf from Armoury-Terrain saying go out and make something.